Long before Europe built its modern systems, the Muslim world had already developed many innovations we rely on today. Yet few are credited. Hospice and elderly care, for example, were formalized in Muslim cities, where institutions provided structured support for the aged and infirm, something Western societies only formalized centuries later. Cataract surgery was performed by Amr ibn Ali al-Mausili using precise techniques centuries before ophthalmology became a recognized medical field in Europe. Windmills and mechanical energy were harnessed in the Islamic world for grinding grain and pumping water, laying the groundwork for later European windmill technology. Hospitals had organized pharmacies with labeled drugs and prescriptions, a system modern hospitals still follow, yet history books rarely acknowledge the Muslim origins. Soap and hygiene practices, integral in today's health systems, were systematically promoted in Muslim hospitals and homes long before Europe embraced cleanliness. Early epidemiology and quarantine measures were established to track contagious diseases, a method that echoes in today's global health protocols, but the pioneers remain forgotten. Coffee houses in the Muslim world were centers of social and intellectual exchange, resembling today's cafes, where ideas are shared, yet most people assume Europe invented this culture. Postal and courier networks ensured fast communication for government and commerce, a model for modern mail systems that went uncredited in European textbooks. Timekeeping devices, including mechanical and water clocks to schedule prayers, inspired modern clocks, yet their Islamic roots are erased. Textiles and dyeing techniques influenced European weaving and fashion, yet Western sources rarely mention the source. Papermaking and printing knowledge traveled from the Muslim world to Europe, becoming the backbone of modern education, yet Islamic contribution is often ignored. Distilled perfumes and essential oils developed in the Muslim world underpin today's cosmetics and medicine, yet few associate them with Islam. Optical lenses, magnifying tools, and early microscopes laid the foundation for modern science, but Western histories omit the Muslim inventors. Wind-powered water pumps for irrigation became the basis for modern agriculture, and algorithmic thinking in cryptography set the stage for today's digital security. Yet the Muslim pioneers behind these ideas are almost never credited. Over centuries, as European powers expanded and Muslim empires weakened, the names of these innovators were erased, their works appropriated, and textbooks rewritten to center Europe while quietly sidelining Islamic contributions. The reality is that the modern world, in hospitals, universities, engineering, science, agriculture, and daily conveniences, still runs on the innovations of Muslim scholars and inventors, innovations that history often pretends never existed. This erasure misled generations, creating the false belief that Muslims contributed little to civilization. But today, as more scholars revisit original manuscripts and trace the chain of knowledge, the truth is being rediscovered. The modern world stands on the shoulders of countless Muslim thinkers, inventors, scientists, and scholars who lit the spark of knowledge during a time when much of the world was in darkness. Their work shaped hospitals, universities, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, geography, architecture, and even the scientific method itself. Most people don't realize that even the graduation gown worn in universities today traces back to Islamic culture. The flowing black robe that students proudly wear during convocation comes directly from the long flowing academic thobe. worn by Muslim scholars in Andalusia, Al-Khwarizmi, and Al-Azhar. More than 1,000 years ago, Europeans who studied under Muslim teachers copied both the robe and the tradition of wearing a scholar's head cover to show knowledge, respect, and academic rank. Muslims used turbans, wrapped caps, and scholarly headpieces during teaching long before European universities existed. Later, Europe redesigned that head cover into the square mortarboard we see today. But the idea of academic dress, both the gown and the headwear, was rooted in Islamic scholarly culture. So every time a student graduates, they unknowingly echo a tradition shaped by Muslim educators of the Golden Age. These gowns were modeled on the traditional Muslim thobe, a symbol of dignity, knowledge, and purity. When European students studied under Muslim teachers in Andalusia and Sicily, they adopted both the style of teaching and the scholar's robe. But the origin, a simple, elegant Islamic garment worn by scholars of the Golden Age, was erased from most Western history books. Yet every time a student graduates anywhere in the world, they unknowingly honor a legacy rooted in Muslim scholarship. The story of Islamic civilization is not just a chapter in history, it is the groundwork of the world we live in today. And sharing this truth is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about restoring accuracy, honoring forgotten brilliance, and reminding people that Muslims have played a central role in human progress for more than a millennium. When this history is known, it changes how Muslims see themselves and how the world sees Muslims. It shows that the civilization that once led the world with humility, intelligence, and faith can rise again, not by imitation, but by remembering who we are, what we once contributed, and the legacy we carry.